Hi guys, this is Weiman and I'm a Diamond 2 support and AD player, and today I'm going over some of the common mistakes that I saw in Silver and Gold ELO while playing on a Smurf. These might not be all of the common mistakes, but these were what I saw the most and are definitely areas that can be improved on to gain ELO. Shot calling and strategy. Many low ELO players say that they excel in shot calling or strategy, but they lack mechanics. Unfortunately, I do think the vast majority of players have poor shot calling and in-game strategy. Many players talk about how their allies never try to secure objectives in low ELO, and I do think it is an issue. Yeah, there were a few times I'd call for a push or tried to secure Baron and I was ignored. But the number of times people tried to force bad objectives was significantly higher. A common example would be the enemy jungler ganks top and gets a kill, and then your top laner starts pinging dragon. Now, does that open up the opportunity to do dragon? Yes. But does the enemy jungler being top after level 4 or 5 mean that you should do dragon? Not necessarily. There are a lot of factors that go into it. How much time did the enemy jungler take at top lane? Did he instantly get the kill? Where is your jungler? Is anybody on your team or their team fed? Can someone on your team efficiently tank the dragon? How long will it take you to do the dragon? Can the enemy jungler make it to dragon in time? Etc. Look at this clip here. Nautilus and Ziggs counter-gank top lane and get a double kill. Then, the enemy pings dragon. Now, is this a good dragon call? Sure, now it's a 3v2 and they have Yasuo, Jinx, and Karma, so they have decent damage. But they don't have a tank, so they would get low doing it. And it's very unlikely they will be able to finish dragon and get away safely before Ziggs and Nautilus get down. In higher ELO, there is a significant difference in how many fewer throws occur with dragon and Baron calls. Enemy jungle pressure. People do not seem to ever expect the jungler to show up. They push to the turret, don't ward, and they still don't seem to expect the gank. In this clip, I really pushes her lane right away and does not ward. I tell her as she is pushing, she is going to get ganked. This is the most common solo queue gank. You start at your bottom buff, do a small camp, and then do your other buff. You end up on the top side of the jungle around the 3-minute mark and typically look for any gank opportunities. If you're pushed up to the turret at this time, you're setting yourself up for a gank. And while she did not die, she had to burn a summoner really early in the game, making her vulnerable to future ganks. Understanding how the enemy jungler affects you is crucial to getting better as a player. Preventing enemy ganks is an easy way to deny the enemy gold and allows you to get ahead. When I'm laning, I'm always thinking, if the jungler comes, how screwed am I going to be, and adjust my play accordingly. But it comes down to the biggest issue that people don't want to spend money on wards. And it is always hard to teach players about the importance of wards. You have to think about, like, you're spending 75 gold to deny the enemy from 300 gold and losing out on around 120 gold and a wave of experience. Knowledge of damage output. I think this is one of the most important things for a player to work on to play at a high level. The idea behind knowing damage output is simply knowing how much damage you, your allies, and your opponents can do. It allows you to know when you can trade, when you can all-in, when you can engage, when you can teamfight, when you can force objectives, etc. You shouldn't constantly be surprised at how much damage someone does because it is based on champion matchup, the level difference, runes, masteries, and the items. Like if the exact same situation was played over 100 times, they would still be doing the same amount of damage unless you're trying to factor in critical strikes. Like if a Syndra catches you out and full combos you to death, and you replay that exact same situation over and over again without changing anything, she should be doing the exact same damage. If you're ever surprised at how much damage someone is doing, then you need to get better at keeping tabs of champion matchups, level differences, and their items. In a similar situation, you should not be surprised that the AD on your team who fell behind early game now doesn't do that much damage. A better assessment is to look at the champion, his level, and his items, and say that we probably need a better initiation because our AD is behind and will have low damage output. Knowing how the enemy team will react. The most common example of this is when players fight the enemy in the enemy jungle when no one is seen on the map. The player says, I had no idea that the other players were there. Well, if it's a 40-minute game and you find one of their members, it is likely they are more close by. You have to think what is the most logical thing for their team to do. Here, Yasuo starts a fight with Nautilus in the enemy jungle with no eyes on Ziggs, who easily collapses on him. If you're fighting for an extended period of time in their jungle, it is likely that more enemies will come. If you gank bot and stay there for a long time to try to get a kill, it is likely that more enemies will come. Getting caught warding. Lower yellow players love to use this excuse. Yeah, it does suck when people on your team don't ward, but it is not a good reason to die. Be safe about the paths you take and use the safe ways to ward. Try to keep important choke points warded at all times and avoid going out too far to ward. Knowing when to let objectives go. The most common example of this is when the tower is low health and they know they're going to lose the tower, or they know the enemy is going to dive them. Regardless, they stay at the tower pinging for help and die with the tower. If you know that an objective is going down and no one is able to get there to help, then you should leave. The difference between being fed and being OP. Something I see a lot is when an enemy player gets fed and then kills someone really fast, and the player that dies just starts talking about how OP something is. Distinguishing a good play and the opponent making a mistake. Players can make bad plays or bad calls and end up coming ahead because their opponent made a mistake. This often leads to a player thinking that was a good play or a good decision. It is a difficult thing to work on because of the number of mistakes that are made in the silver and gold region, but it's definitely something to keep in mind when you're trying to improve. Alright, those were some of the common mistakes I saw silver and gold ELO. Thanks for watching.